Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm reacting to a data analyst resume I found on Reddit. Now, I've hired analysts for the team I work in, junior analysts, so I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone who's actually read hundreds and hundreds of these, and I've actually had a chance to influence hiring decisions. Now, feedback on resumes is ridiculously hard to come by in today's day and age. Most recruiters won't tell you why you didn't get a job, and companies most definitely won't. I've actually felt this personally. I've been applying to senior data analyst roles, and for all the roles I didn't get, there was no feedback, no updates, just plain rejection. So if you're interested in having your resume reviewed by me, stick around to the end, and I'll let you know how to submit your resume for review. Now, taking this resume, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to walk you through what works, what doesn't work, how to make your CV more recruiter and ATS friendly, and how to stand out without sounding like ChatGPT wrote your entire resume. Let's get into it. So here's the resume. I'm going to leave a link to the resume down in the description below. It's on the resume subreddit, and I mean, you can probably find it if you search data analyst resume Reddit top 4 or 5 results, but I'll leave a link to it down in the description. Now, straight off the bat, starting off with some formatting issues I can see. First and foremost, it's too text heavy. There's too many blocks of text. That immediately makes it more difficult for a recruiter to read. Number 2, on the formatting side of things, well, I can see, if I zoom in a little bit, the dates are misaligned for different experiences. That's immediately a red flag, because if you're hiring a data analyst, you want them to produce a piece of work that they'll be able to deliver to your clients without any errors. Right, so dates are misaligned in experience. Also, graduation dates for the 2 different education bullet points are also misaligned. The cities for the different education bullet points are also misaligned. Now, formatting is something interesting and very, very important. If you want your resume to go through an ATS, an applicant tracking system, and get into the hands of a recruiter, your formatting needs to be on point. And then to get past the recruiter, your formatting also needs to be on point. I've had a couple of issues with formatting my own resume. I was initially submitting some resumes in Word format, and then I just happened to download one of the files I'd sent to a recruiter, my CV file I'd sent to a recruiter on my phone, and the entire formatting was messed up. Everything was all over the place. So what I've started doing now, and what I'd recommend to everyone, is attach a Word file of your resume and a PDF file. A PDF file will be the exact output that you send. There won't be any formatting issues or errors or anything wrong with it when you submit a PDF file. So you're covering yourself in that regard. Point number 3 on the formatting side of things, this top line with name, email information, LinkedIn, all that information is good. I would remove the icons, the location icon, the email icon, the website icon, and the GitHub link icon. I would remove that. And that is because those icons can throw off ATS systems. What I would also do is take my name and align it to the left and with my email just below, and then shift all of the other remaining information all the way to the right. LinkedIn, phone number, location, and the GitHub link. That way, the first thing any recruiter is seeing is your name in bold on the left. Everyone reads from left to right. First thing they're seeing is the name, and they have no issues knowing whose resume it is. Let's get into the actual experiences. Now, just having skimmed through these first 2 experiences, I can see that they've likely got a fair amount of data knowledge and data analytics knowledge, with exposure to a fair few amount of relevant tools and software. I mean, they've got SQL, ETL processing, they have Power BI and Excel, which is great. Python as well, just saw automate using Python, which is all great. Again, the issue here is the blocks of text. Bullet points are meant to be exactly that, bullet points. They're not meant to be sentences. I mean, some of these are multiple sentences. They're almost paragraphs. Those need to be much, much shorter. A recruiter or a hiring manager or an employer doesn't have time to read through blocks and blocks of text. It's too much for them to do. They have hundreds and hundreds of resumes coming in for, especially in this market, hundreds and hundreds of resumes coming in from so many different applicants. These bullet points need to be much more succinct and concise and to the point. Now, as an example, let's take the first bullet point. Developed a data model to structure and evaluate weekly network compliance using Power BI and Excel, in which network buildings are assigned a single score to evaluate overall quality performance, as well as identifying areas for improvement. This improved ops controllable risk factors by 23% and alleviated 65% of data retrieval hours for the quality analytics team. In this case, what I would do is the applicants mentioned Power BI and Excel, but they haven't really said what they used Power BI and Excel for. In what regard were Power BI and Excel used to create a data model? I would perhaps even split that into 2 short bullet points. Yeah, I might even, because you're covering Power BI and Excel, I might even split that into 2 short bullet points. But aside from it being a little bit too long, it's a little bit vague in terms of actionable use of Power BI and Excel. Power BI and Excel are just mentioned within that bullet point. I'd like to see how exactly Power BI and Excel were used. Was the data extracted and transformed in Power Query, or was Power BI used to create a dashboard from the data model in Excel? Things like that. Now, good points immediately, including numerical results, as in improving controllable risk factors by 23% and reducing 65% of data retrieval hours. That's immediately a plus point. That's something you only tend to see in more tenured and senior analysts. Their resumes tend to include these statistics, which is good. Second bullet point: designed and automated quality assurance reports using extract, transform, and load ETL management jobs, ensuring timely reporting to stakeholders while maintaining data integrity and accuracy. Additionally, reducing report creation effort by 55%. That doesn't make sense. Grammatically, that doesn't make sense. Again, bullet points shouldn't be 2 sentences. It should be 1 short sentence. Designed and automated quality assurance reports using extract, transform, and load management jobs, ensuring timely reporting to stakeholders while maintaining data integrity and accuracy. My question would be, having read that, how was data integrity and accuracy maintained? That's a good inclusion. Maintenance of data integrity, accuracy is a great inclusion. My question would be, how? Also, that last sentence, not only does it grammatically not make sense, but that's reducing report creation effort by 55%. Doesn't really make sense to me. That's difficult to quantify because you're saying it reduced effort instead of it reduced time. For example, in the first bullet point, the applicant said reduced 65% of data retrieval hours. Alright, that's quantifiable because it reduced retrieval hours by a percentage of 65%. So that's quantifiable. Effort isn't really quantifiable in the second bullet point, so that's difficult to understand. I'd also like to know how these assurance reports were automated. Now, going on to point number 3, developed. You've already used developed in the first bullet point. I'd like to see another noun used. I would start that with automated, a web scraping solution to generate Excel reports using Python. I'd much rather have seen that. You can't overuse developed or automated or a singular set of nouns in your resume. That's pretty important. I'd rather have seen that begin with automated. Automation is a key part of being a data analyst, and if that had started with automated, that immediately would have drawn my eyes to that bullet point. Again, that bullet point is a bit too text heavy. This initiative significantly improved operational efficiency by rectifying 12% of late departures. You can just say comma after that first part, improving operational efficiency by 12% by reducing late departures by 12%. Actually, let's do this. Let's take that third bullet point and I'm going to try and restructure it. Yeah, let's just take this third bullet point and let's do a first draft of how I would go about improving this. Let's take a look. Automated web scraping solution using Python, enabling research to major networks, reducing or improving actually no, that'll make it too long. Rectifying is a good one. Rectifying 12% of late departures. I would actually leave it like that. In this case, it's interesting. In this case, I would choose either one of those statistics. If you include both, you risk the bullet point running too long. Yeah, as a first draft to rewrite that, that's what I would go with. Obviously, depending on the role, depending on the industry, the role, the company, I would figure out which one of those statistics creates more impact. Rectifying 12% of late departures or facilitating an average of 62895 unit adjustments per week. I went with the 12% because it actually makes more sense to me. Rectifying 12% of late departures makes more sense to me than facilitating an average of 62895 unit adjustments per week. Yeah, if I was to rewrite that bullet point, that's what I would do. Let's get back to the resume. Bullet point number 4, collaborated closely with data engineers to co-create an Amazon QuickSight demand capacity planning dashboard, seamlessly amalgamating data from diverse SQL sources and establishing automated reporting. This successful implementation yielded a notable 24% surge in labor function productivity, bolstering streamlined demand planning and resource allocation. Too many words. All right, I'm going to move on from the Amazon experience. We've got support analyst discrepancies, defecting by auditor. Now, here's another point that I see in a lot of resumes. People include experience that doesn't relate to the job they're applying for. That first bullet point could easily have included discrepancies in data, discrepancies in a database, in customer data. I can see it says validating customer return labels. So eliminating 34% of discrepancies in customer data, that would have been much more relevant. Not only relevant, but much more relevant is the right word. It would have been much more relevant to have included that. Again, I'd encourage anyone to take their experience and make it relevant to the position you're applying for. If you're applying for a data analyst role, change everything to make it as congruent with data and data skills and data tools and software as possible. That could have very easily, this whole section, the ICQA support analyst at Amazon section could have very easily been a much more impactful segment of a CV. It could have been a much higher value section of the CV had it been slightly just tweaked to include more data relevant, data focused skills. Let's move on to education. Let's see. BA in economics, that's fair. I tend to like to see what coursework or relevant modules you studied. Some universities do VBA for Excel, some universities do data visualization modules. If you're applying for a job in finance, you can include financial modeling modules. I like to see just a section of relevant coursework beneath your degree. That would have been nice. Now, organizations and role, I personally don't think that's necessary, but apparently the industries this particular applicant was going for was gaming and tech. So now what I'm not understanding here is it says school. Oh, right. They might have removed it because they don't want people knowing where they went to school. Right, that might be the case, actually. That's my mistake. That might be the case. They submitted it on Reddit, so they might not want people to know where they went to school. That's fair enough. Cities misaligned, graduation dates misaligned. Now, full stack web development program, that stood out to me as something that they could have expanded on, especially within the data analytics and data science and business analyst spheres. There's a lot of transferable skills from web development, full stack web development into data analytics. So that's something they could have included some additional information on. Again, relevant coursework, relevant modules, maybe a dissertation you wrote. That could have been another potential strong point. Going down to certifications, technical skills, and interests. Interestingly, there is no interests mentioned in this section, so I would remove interests completely. There's no need for that. I tend to like seeing interests right at the end of a resume because it just sort of humanizes an applicant. If you happen to have aligning interests, then that's something you can talk to them about in an interview. But in this case, I don't know why they included or why the title is interests if there are no interests listed. Professional skills, again, I'd rather see these evidenced in bullet points, in practical experience, than just listed out this way. Certifications, that's fine. That's good. Programming languages, SQL, Python, vanilla, JavaScript, that is fine as well. Applications, tools, AWS QuickSight, Office applications, slight formatting error there as well. There should be a space after applications. GitHub, Power BI, Tableau, Jupyter Notebooks, ETL. Now, ETL, I'm not entirely sure whether that is a new tool or software which I'm not aware of, but ETL is a set of processes rather than an application or a tool, so that I wouldn't put there. Overall, this is a pretty strong CV in terms of experience. If you take it from face value and look through the tools, applications and softwares they've used, they cover a great foundational baseline of data analytics tools. There's Power BI, SQL, Power Query, Excel, Python. At face value, there's a great set of tools that have been included, but it's the delivery that's really holding this back. Too many words, not enough actionable insight on what you did, what actions you actually took with the tools. I would have liked to have seen that more instead of just mentioning, like I said at the beginning, instead of just mentioning you developed a data model using Power BI and Excel. I want to know how. I want to know the actions you took to develop that data model. And again, like I said before, was the data loaded into Power Query? Was the data transformed into a dashboard? Was it inputted into a dashboard? Was the data model created in Excel and then a dashboard was created off that? I would have liked to see that more. Statistics, very good, very good to include in your resume. If you run the risk of creating too long a bullet point by including 2 or 3 statistics, I would choose the most important one. But the greatest issue with this particular resume is formatting. The formatting, not only in terms of being too much text, but in terms of things being misaligned, that's gonna really badly throw off your chances of getting a role. Especially because when you hire a data analyst, you're going to be presenting findings to a client, to a stakeholder, internal or external. And so your presentation skills, your report delivery skills, your final delivery files have to be impeccable, and that starts with your CV. So that's probably the greatest weakness in this particular resume is the formatting. But otherwise, the experience is pretty damn good. Encompasses a lot of tools and it's pretty comprehensive. All right, there it is. That's the Reddit resume breakdown. Hopefully you got some solid takeaways, and if nothing else, a reminder that a great CV isn't just keywords and bullet points. It's often more than that. It includes all aspects of formatting, statistics, making sure a CV is aligned to a specific job you're applying to, and all the other good stuff. If you'd like me to review your resumes, whether you're applying for a junior data analyst role, a slightly more senior data analyst role, and you'd like me to review your resume either on video, where you redact any of your personal information, or privately, let me know down in the comments below, and we can set up a meeting regarding that. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.